go. I have been editing now for about an hour or two. Let me see if I can pump up the volume here. Oh my gosh, it has been a long go. Look at this. Look at this. Help me. Please help join me. I'm kind of by some traffic, so it might be noisy, but look at this bad boy. So I wrote a book, and I'm so excited to share it with everybody. It is coming up. Okay, so most of you guys know that I started my whole TikTok journey on the biblical flat earth. I kind of fell into a rabbit hole, and I decided to pull the thread, and the thread ended up with a 300-page, 29-day Bible study. So it's not as overwhelming as some people might think. It is actually quite doable because it's broken down by day. So as you go through, you have like day 1, and then you have exercises. Each chapter is only a couple of pages long. Well, it's maybe, okay, so look, this is already day 2. So what is that, like 6-7 pages is like day 1. So 29 days, walk you through the biblical flat earth and all of the context of what got us here, because I basically consolidated and expanded on my TikToks. So every time I pulled a thread, I did a TikTok, and then after the TikToks, I started compiling my book and adding more information based on people's questions in the comments and just further knowledge. And so it's taking a Holy Bible, the 66 books, we're pretty much only in the Old Testament. What's up? We're going to be in the first part of the Old Testament. And then from there, we invited the book of Enoch to match with the Holy Bible to see where there's overlap or where there's disconnection. And so I wanted to see if there was some biblical proof for the biblical flat earth. And as we will see, I will put this on my YouTube. So if you want to flow through, I'm just kind of doing a quick little run through. I won't be on very long, so I got to get back to edits. But I just wanted to have this in place on my YouTube so you guys can come back and look at and kind of get an overview for those who are interested in purchasing the book when it comes out. It was supposed to be due out in April, and I'm sorry for the delay. A lot of people are probably like, is this book ever happening? It's here. Look, it's actually real. I promise. I wasn't making things up. But I ended up rearranging some of the chapters in the beginning, and I'll walk you through what's in the beginning so you can kind of see of what we're going to be talking about. I think the juiciest chapters really start in part 2. The first part is giving you the foundational overlay of like the beginning story. Who is us when God said, let us make man in our image? We're kind of breaking down who is he talking to. My next book will get into the prequel of the garden story, because there's a whole nother story that goes before this. Our Bible kind of jumps us into a middle of a story. And then I do the creation of Adam and Eve, where was the garden, and then we start talking about their expulsion, Cain, Abel, were they twins? Thank you for the hearts. Were they not just twins, but did Satan father Cain, and did Adam father Abel? Which was some crazy stuff that was going on TikTok a while ago about that conspiracy, and I had to pull that thread too. So that's in there clarifying, and you'll have to get the book to see that. I'm also going to be doing on September 11th the full expose of the Revelation. So if you've been checking out my page, I know I've been gone for a while. I've been editing. I'm also a full-time student doing clinical mental health. I'm also learning Spanish. So it's been a break, and then I've had my own personal physical revelations, where it just took the wind out of my sails, I guess would be the way to say it, because it was just leveling. But that's going to be covered in the next book. So is this a retelling or insight-based explanation of the this is an insight-based explanation. So not just a retelling of my TikToks, but I guess it's kind of a hybrid, because it's going line by line through Genesis, but it's also bringing in some of those lost texts through the book of Enoch and where they line up and where the story gets more complete. New here, hey, my apologies. No, you're fine. This is for everybody who wants to learn. Again, on September 11th, if you go to the link in my bio, click on my website. I think it says like About Me or something like that. As a firm believer and my revelation, go there. And then just sign up for my newsletter. I'm not going to send you any spam. I'm not going to send you anything weird. It's just to give you the alert when the book is ready, and then also when the Zoom is going to be ready. I'm also doing a, what is it called? A poll to see when people are ready on the 11th, okay? Because it's going to be based off of Pacific Standard Time. So I've got a couple of options on the 11th for people to choose from. And then if you miss it, you will only be able to get the private link when I post it on YouTube. I hope you guys can hear me. By being attached to my news or my little group, okay? Because this is not information I'm going to be putting out to the masses. I've talked about it numerous times. Jesus had both a public and a private message, and you just need discernment. You need to be at a certain level to get this in-depth knowledge for the second book that's coming out. This is the foundational piece. So if you want to know, if you want to be caught up for September 11th, I would advise you to go through my playlist, check out my firmament tab, my cosmology tab, because I am just going to be spitting knowledge on the 11th. We won't have time to get into debates. We can do that later once you already have the notes and you've read over it. We can come back again for a second kind of Bible study, and then we can start to engage and have conversation. Okay, what do you guys think? Okay, wow, thank you. Hit my buzzword. Creation story in the book of Enoch, because details are, I don't know what, cut off? Let out, so to speak. Yeah, they are left out. Hold on, go back. It's going quick now. And to think I paused because your glasses are so awesome. Well, I'm glad I put them on. Thank you. Yes, so that's kind of what we're talking about. That's where we are. I wanted to clear up some of the misconceptions and debunking the biblical, not debunking, but proving the biblical flat earth using lost text, because you need the lost text to really, I mean, other than the King James version of Genesis 1, which talks about the firmaments and the separating the water above from the water below and the floodgates of heaven and Noah when the flood comes. It's not, and then God using the earth as his footstool in the four corners of the earth. Like, what does all that mean? And as a theologian, I exegetically break it down using lost scriptures and going back to the foundational source. Love, love, love. Yeah. So let's get back to the table of contents. I'm kind of editing, so I've got like scribble marks all over it, but this is what my edits are looking like. So once you print the book, and it's one thing when it's on your screen at home, and then once you get it in a layout page, you're like, oh my God, okay, this needs a period, this needs to be shifted. So that's kind of what I'm doing before I publish. And like I said, I had to rearrange some chapters because it wasn't flowing right. So instead of it releasing in April like I had planned, I shifted my chapters around, and then it took longer. It kind of like went back to the beginning because we had to reformat. But I'm going to give you guys some sneak peeks here. If you're joining me, it has pictures in it, okay? So it's not just, there's even a note section. It's not just straight text. So it's a little bit longer because of the pictures, and half of it's appendix. So you'll read the chapter, and then it'll give you like a clue to go back to the appendix and get more information, or else one day would be so long. So I kind of broke it up so you could kind of get the information that you need, and then you can go in the back and research some more topics in depth. Okay, so we're talking about Rachel. Hey. And then we get to the biblical flat earth. But let's go through the table of contents really quick. I think I left off with the expulsion from the garden. There's also knowledge checks in here, comprehensive reviews. That takes up some space. But the juicy part that everybody came for is part 3, where we cover the spiritual realm. And on day 17, we're going to talk about the Watchers. We're going to talk about a new day. We're going to talk about the underworld. So we're going to clarify, did Jesus descend to hell? Like, what was that whole conversation about? And then day 20 is the biblical flat earth. That's where you're going to get all of the juice. And I put it in the middle of the book for a reason, because you need to have the foundation first. If I just open the book talking about the biblical flat earth without talking about the first inhabitants and leading the story up to like the ultimate creation story of like clarifying where we get those scriptures from, then you really would be lost. You'd just be like, okay, I think she's nuts. So I wanted to set the framework, and then in the middle of the book, give you the biblical flat earth. We talk about the sun, the moon, and the stars, so you'll know about the Enochian calendar, how they count the 29-30 days, 364 days. Sorry, I'm outside on a patio. And the 10 layers of heaven, 7 in some other traditions. I think I'm going to work some things around about that because there's kind of a mixed view on that. And then the fallen angels, because that's a big topic. And then the archangels. And then you go into your comprehensive reviews. We even talk about how the angels helped to build the ark. I didn't know that either. I just was like, oh my God, when I was reading this, my brain is buzzing. I need this. Yes, I will give you a hint that it will be about $25.99 on Amazon because it's a monster, okay? 29 days. This is for you guys to read it yourself, digest, and then have your own Bible studies, and then take it from there. And then when you're ready for part 2, which will be my September 11th talk, it's kind of an early release of the next book. This is the first one. Like, you need to be a firm believer and understand the earth is flat and all of the conspiracies around this first before you move on to the next layer where we start talking about the Tartarian Empire, Jesus's reign, Revelation, how the message got distorted because Jesus started in Africa, and all of that. Juicy. So how do I get that on Amazon? So as I mentioned before, you might have just jumped on. If you go to the link in my bio on my profile, it'll take you to, I think, my link tree or something, and then I put it on the very, very top, which will take you to my website. It says Firm Believer, and then it says My Revelation, sign up. So go there, click that, and just like sign up like you're signing up for someone's newsletter on their website. That's all it is. It's not going to really have anything major. It's not going to, have any woo-woo bells and whistles. But you go there, and the reason you would have to give me your information is because we're doing a Zoom call. Again, there will be no debating. There will be no selling. You already know the book's coming out, so I'll make a mention of it, but that's it. There's not going to be any debate. There's not going to be any selling, and there's not going to be any spam or scam, or I'm not going to do any seances or weird, we're not reading palms or nothing like that. You got the wrong person. I think that's going to happen, so don't worry. I won't spam your account because I don't even like emails. So all it does is get you the link to the September 11th Royal Roots conversation, My Revelation. Okay, I've already done that. Perfect. Thank you. I've seen a lot more signups come through. So if you're on, be sure to click that you agree to newsletter signups to receive email. I don't know why they separated it out that way. Obviously, if someone's entering in their email, they're giving you permission, but they want that extra security that you know what you're signing up for. And all it is to send you, one, the poll on which time will work best for you based on where you live. It will be based off Pacific Standard Time. It'll either be in the morning Pacific Standard Time or it'll be in the evening after work Pacific Standard Time. So depending on where you live, you just select as many times that you're available. I will only do one time on the 11th. I will save the message or the video, the call, and then I'll put it on my YouTube, but I'm going to protect it. So you will need to have put your email, you should have signed up, so you can get the link after. So if you've missed it, I will send, like on the 13th, 14th, or whatever the following week, I will send another email. So keep an eye out if you missed it, or even if you didn't. It will attach the link to the private secured link to YouTube where I will post it. Hopefully it won't be too long. I think we'll probably be on less than 2 hours because it's a lot to cover. I'm going to come with receipts. I'm going to come with scriptures. Again, it's not going to be a place to debate. We are going to have that another time, okay? I am well equipped. If anybody wants to challenge me or talk to me, we can come on lives and do that all day, all week, okay? But this won't be a place where we're going to be going back and forth. It's just going to be me basically showing you a PowerPoint, what I found, and then you'll have access to the notes for yourself so you can do further deep dives and prove what I'm saying on your own. So I'm going to give you kind of like chapters of this is what we're covering, and then this is where you can find it, and then you can go digest it. So it's going to be like a letter to the church, and then we can come back and have conversation around it, and then I'll post up some more classrooms on YouTube because we're moving away from these platforms. You will not be able to criticize religion after the 13th. That's why I'm doing it on September 11th. And who's to say what's criticism? Right now, and I'm just teaching the Word of God. But as we know, walking down the street and being the wrong color can get you arrested, and detained, even though you could be a U.S. citizen. So rules don't apply anymore. So I don't even want to risk it. I'm just going to have the conversation, offline. And then when I come back, I can just kind of already talk and give you guys classes, because you guys will already be in the know. And then for those who aren't there, just stay on. I don't know what they're going to turn TikTok into. I doubt it's going to go away. They just keep playing games. Who's to say? Okay, I'll make sure to do it again just to make sure I did everything. Okay, I think it'll cancel itself out. It's like the angel of death. Actually, the angel of light. He was on a motorcycle. He had white lights all over his bike. It was really nice. Maybe it was my archangel riding by. Okay, I think it might cancel itself out. So if you double sign up, I think it'll negate it. Obviously, it won't send you a double message. So, okay, so hopefully everybody understands where I'm coming from. This is what you can expect in the book. If you've missed this or what I said, I'll go ahead and post this in my YouTube link. And you can get the full recap of this. I don't want this one to be too long. It's just like kind of a quick little bam, I'm on. Here's the overview. But I'm doing my edits and I'm halfway done. I'm like, I want to try to get it done this weekend so I can get it back to the publisher. And she still has to go through and fix all this stuff. So that's going to take another week or two. So I think realistically it's probably going to be like the middle of September before the release, maybe even towards the end. There's like a train going by, motorcycles going by. It's like a whole bunch of stuff. Hope you guys can hear me. Thank you for the hearts. What else? Do you guys have any questions or anything for me? You guys want to see more of the pictures? Let's see. I can't give you guys too much. Ooh, I open it up to the biblical flat earth where we start discussing the maps. In the next one, we'll start talking about how they did map erasure and how the Americas might actually be the old Africa based on the Grand Canyon. And there's some that believe that Namibia in Africa is actually the promised land, because that was the first territory. And they just kind of moved everything around and renamed it. And then we'll talk about destiny swapping with the people who are called the Jewish, non-racial, just historical, okay? We are known as the indigenous tribe, the Israelites, the Black Jews, the Moors, and the ones who have swapped destinies with us due to our disobedience in Deuteronomy 28. You can read about that. They became Jewish. Okay? So that's what we'll be talking about. This is Christ descending down. Did Jesus go to hell? Oh boy. Did he? I don't know. We need to talk about it. Oh, we got NASA in here too. The deceiver. The Hebrew word for NASA is to deceive. Look at this little viper. This is the real logo of NASA. Most people don't know that this is the real logo. Yes, but this is what they show you. They only show you this part. on the astronauts' space patch, you'll see these red. Sneaky. And then we'll even talk about the Nephilim, the giants who ruled the earth. Okay, this is why we had the flood. Not because God was mean, because these little monsters, these Jack and the Beanstalk like monsters, ruled the earth. And we're talking about ripping off heads and drinking blood. I never heard of that. This is why we're here. Because I decided to not leave the church, but I wanted to step away from the church because I just was tired of the same 13 stories over and over. I was literally I was here, I've been here for like a couple of hours doing my edits, and it's been peaceful and quiet. And then as soon as you start talking about God, This is when everything wants to act up. But I hope you guys can hear me. So anyway, I was sitting on the pews, and I was so tired of hearing the same narration over and over and over and over and over and over. I'm like, if y'all talk to me one more time about Jonah or about Moses, I love Jesus and I love the passion story, but like, there has to be more. There just has to be more. And so I said, I need to, something wasn't adding up, and then I started to jump into this rabbit hole, and then that led down a whole thing. So then I said, we need to preserve this knowledge. I wanted to capture this information for myself because I needed to know the truth. And then I said, I need to just put this in a book. People were asking me on TikTok, and were like, oh, tell us more. And I'm like, I'm a full-time grad student. I don't really have time. I kind of pulled away from, see what I mean? Maybe because it's like Friday night. What? Is it Saturday night? Maybe that's what's happening. That's what's happening. Okay. So I can stop being rude. It's people heading out for the evening. It's 9 o'clock at night though. I'm like, what is happening right now? I always questioned the Bible since I was young. It felt off. I know. And as someone who's been to seminary, okay, like certified theologian here, we are taught that the Bible is put together in a pristine way, okay, that the ancient leaders, the scribes, people who were what we call religious leaders, the rabbis inside of your community, helped to transfer it from the Aramaic, the Ge'ez, the Coptic to Greek, to Hebrew, and later on to multiple English translations, but very carefully through a very meticulous process, like line by line, jot by tittle, and then it goes through a council for proofing, basically, for certification, which we call canon. It calls canonization process, where the Bible's put together and they say, nope, this book can't make it, this book can't make it. Well, all the books that they decided, and when I say they, this is Rome, okay, this is Western canonization, ripped out a lot of the meat because it didn't go along with their narrative of conquering civilizations. So a lot of the Bible, the 66 books that we have, is written from the perspective of virgins, sacrificing, colonization, so wars. It's just the theme that happens all throughout the Old Testament that they call history. There's a lot more history books that they don't highlight. We have the writings, we have the prophets, we have the Pentateuch, we have a lot of other things. Yes, it's to control. They do that by removing the real God, by putting in their systems of power, control, and beliefs, and getting you to believe that you need to fight for salvation and that heaven is a distant concept. And we'll get to Revelation later because that's going to encroach on my September 11th talk. But yes, you start to realize when you go back, and I just decided for myself, like, okay, God is saying that we need to seek Him and we need to find. And why did they pull these books out of the Bible? Like, they're so huge. Why do we not know where Jesus went for when He was an adolescent? Like, why would you take that out? It says that Jesus went to His family after they had Him because He was going to be fled to Africa. And He didn't come back until the time of Herod's death. That is a long, he was a baby. And then they would do these pilgrimages. We know that He at least came back when He was, 13? Because that's when He was teaching and His family had lost Him. He was like, didn't you know I was going to be in my Father's house? And they were like, you little smarty pants, stick with your family. Because they traveled as a community to their pilgrimages when they went and, like, when they did Passover, all of the feasts and festivals, they would go to temples outside of their village into the main city center, and they would do these collective worships, and we would have our feasts and our festivals. And then when they go home several days later, it would take several days to get back, and in the middle of that caravan they realized Jesus was not amongst the caravan, so they had to go back and find Him. So that tells us that there's a big gap of time where Jesus is just not, it's not even important. You're trying to tell me a Messiah, a perfect Savior who came, we don't know anything until He's ready to start ministry? Yeah, and they claim it lost. So I decided, let's go read these lost books just to make sure we're not missing anything, because again, as a theologian, we were told those books were discredited. Don't even look over there because they don't have any weight. They're so far removed. They're not written by people who were in direct relation or in the same era window. There's like a lot of different things. Like you had to be a disciple, you had to be within 100 years, or it's like all of these parameters that they decided. And they completely negated anything that came out of Africa. They buried it, hid it, stole it, burned it, and the Vatican has a lot of that information in their archives. So even the Ethiopian Bible and the Nag Hammadi scriptures, which I'm currently using, have been heavily, heavily redacted. I actually have my Nag Hammadi right here. See, I read. People don't think I'm reading books. They just think I'm creating nonsense. And I'm like, how am I going to have 300 pages of nonsense? Like, wouldn't this be like a 10-page book if I was just like, I don't know, I shouldn't say that. Scientology has volumes and volumes of outer space madness. I got to the Ethiopian Bible and the Quran. I'm going to do the Quran next because I've been hearing some juicy stuff from my Muslim friends from Turkey, and I'm very enthralled. And like what they say, what is pushed out as the narrative isn't the narrative at all. They're like, the virgins aren't even in the Quran. That's a whole nother book. And I'm like, what? See, this is why you have to go back to the origin. But I'm telling you, even the Nag Hammadi scriptures are heavily redacted. Like if I opened up this book, speaking of it, I went to Turkey not too long ago. I'm using it as a bookmark. I'm going to see if I can find a page for you where it's just like ... Here's a good one. Look at this, look at this. I want you to see this. You see how they do the ... Can you guys see it? ... Even this book is heavily redacted. So I use ChatGPT. I'm like, okay, Chat, for Adam's soul, let's go back. And Jesus has a book? Did you know Jesus has a book? Bet you they didn't tell you that one. Why would Jesus not have a book? It isn't in the 66 books. It's called The Wisdom of Jesus and the Dialogue of Jesus. 2 separate books. 2 separate of accounts of his own words, his own writing, okay? Well, I don't know if he literally wrote it, but yeah, words that came out of his mouth. Not just the red little parables that they wanted you to put in the 66 books, like his quotes. He actually was addressing their questions. They would ask him questions, and then he's like, oh, okay, and he wrote it. They were asking questions about the universe. They were asking questions about salvation. Why is that not in the Bible? Because they don't want you to know that you're divine. They don't want you to know that the sun and the moon are right here. They don't want you to know that there's a dome-like structure over us, that we live in a dome. I could see for security reasons, national protection, why that would be a problem. But why don't they want you to visit Antarctica? Why do they only have you going on a chartered tour? You cannot explore freely. You cannot explore the Grand Canyon freely, okay? And the reason you can't get a snapshot of the Earth, everyone's like, well, if it's flat, take a picture. Do you know how massive the Earth is? You can only go so high before you start to burn up. You cannot get a picture of that landmass. That's why we don't have it. Why don't you ask them, why don't you get a picture of the bottom of the globe? Like a live picture, a live feed, not CGI. I don't want one more CGI photo. I want to see a live feed of the entire globe. There's only inner space. So yeah, people are like, well, there is space. Where do you think the satellites go? Inside the dome? It stops at the ether, the ionosphere. That's as high as you can go. When those rockets go up, they either explode or they arc. Why do you think the rainbows arc? Why do you think thunder claps? We are in a self-sustaining ecosystem. Have you seen the movie Biodome? And if you haven't watched on Netflix right now, up until September 25th, they are showing, it's like wild right now. Like, are you guys hearing like all of this extra noise? The Good Place. I want you to watch The Good Place. So when you come in on September 11th, you're gonna already be 16 steps ahead. I want you to pay attention to everything, especially when they talk about architecture. Okay, you'll know what that means when you get there. The architect. Okay, I want you to pay attention to the architect. That is Ted Danson's role. He's the architect. And then I want you to pay attention to Janet. Who is Janet? We're going to answer who Janet is, because Janet is in the Bible. Not the 66 books Bible, but Janet is in the Bible. So you're going to need to know the architect, Ted Danson, and you're going to need to know Janet. And I love her. I don't know her name, the actress. And then you'll see all of the people who are part of the test subject, the leading stars. You know, we have, what's her name? Jamil? Is that her name? She's so beautiful. She's in it. Kirsten, I forget, not Kirsten Dunst, but that other one. She's in it. 10 to Earth. So watch that. Watch The Good Place. It'll give you good insight on where we're going on the 14th, or the 11th. Sorry, the 11th. It's just amazing. I'm watching it again for the second time, and I'm like, now that I know what I know, and I'm just kind of like, they literally put this stuff all in our face, just laughing. And it's a little twisted. It's not 100%, but I could see where they have, but it is pretty spot on. God created us in the image of Him, and we are gods of the earth. Yeah, we're demigods. We are demigods, for sure. I didn't believe that a long time ago. I thought people were going nuts. Say the name of the movie again. It's a TV series called The Good Place on Netflix. Oh my gosh, I don't know why people are screaming. It's just a table of 4 people. There's no need to scream. Am I screaming? The Good Place, thank you. So watch that, because it's going to be like, I am just dumbfounded. Wait, am I on my phone? I don't think I can see it because I don't have reception. I have my other phone, but let me not put my code online here. I was trying to think of all the things that I'm watching on Netflix that have just been blowing my mind. Dang, and I can't look at it because I'm on here, and my other phone doesn't have reception right now. Oh, wait, I can. Okay, yes. Okay, so I'm watching One Piece, which is also very interesting in some ways. And The Sandman. That's kind of like the spirit. I think I watched Constantine too recently. Oh, and I can't see the rest. The Lazarus Project I have saved. I'm very curious about that. Just nefarious. It absolutely is. Transformers. What else? I stopped watching Squid Games. Yeah. Anyway, that is where we're headed. That's what we're gonna do. But yeah, the two books that I want you to get for sure. Nag Hammadi Scriptures. I don't know if I could vouch for this version. I actually found this version for free, and I was pretty stoked about it. At a cafe, it was like one of those take a free book, and it was sitting there looking at me, and I was like, what? Well, I think I will. So I don't know if I'm going to buy another one, and I want to get as close to the original as possible, because the redacted scripture inside, I think I showed you guys, ... Ain't nobody got time for all that. I'm like, why would you take that out? And then when I have ChatGPT fill in the blanks, profound knowledge. I'm like, y'all are just... They claim that it's lost. Like in the beginning, I was reading the foreword, and they were like, "Yeah, we tried to piece together. You know, they didn't come fully intact." So, and I can believe part of that, but how does ChatGPT know? Yeah, you guys need to come up with an updated version and give us the full stuff. So, I can't attest for this. For this one. The revised and updated. What year was this? We don't have time for all that, but I would try to find one that is maybe either from another country, or this is HarperCollins. I don't really see a date on this one, which is where this one says 2008, 2002. Oh no, that's a dedication. 2008, so I don't know. This might just been an old book that I got. Either way, you're going to need to get the Ethiopian Bible, which I've done a post on. I'm very late to the live. What exactly do you believe in? I don't have time to go all the way back to the beginning, sir. I know. We're just talking about the lost scriptures. That's what I believe in. I believe in going back to the origin and filling in some of the blanks of the 66 books, because we're missing a lot. The apocryphal text give us a lot of insight as to how the world is really shaped, to the inhabitants of the world, down to dragons, to I guess you can call them dinosaurs, large mammals that existed, large trees, forestry, like everything was giant size before the flood. And so the Nag Hammadi and the Ethiopian Bible, which I was just talking about, are a must to have in your collection with the Holy Bible. Okay, so I would say keep all three of those in your arsenal at the minimum, and then you can start to explore, like we were talking about. Next, I'm going to go to the Quran, and then I'm going to start checking out some of the, like the Upanishads again. I read them briefly in seminary, but I want to start taking in more Eastern tradition, and I'm finding out that Christ was more of what you'd call a Gnostic and a mystic, which means knowledge-based rather than book, scripture, doctrine-based, pulling from the Holy Spirit for that wisdom, that knowledge, and that insight, and having a close relationship with God. Book 2. So make sure that you are all caught up for the call by going to my playlist, watching the Firmament playlist, and then watching I have the Cosmology tab. I have a bunch of tabs for you to check out. They're also on YouTube as well. So I would watch those. So on September 11th, you'll be ready to understand the next step. This is step 1, and then Royal Roots, my second book, is going to be part 2, giving you more insight as to where we are, who we are. That's more of a who we are and how did we get here. And this is the where we are. So the who we are is coming, which we'll talk about on September 11th, and then both will be published in September. Okay, I'm going to get out of here because I can't take the noise. It's driving me nuts, and I got to finish my edits. I am halfway done, and I'm trying to get done this weekend, so pray for me. Oh my God, I'm almost done. My neck can't take it. For those that don't know, I have rods in my neck, and I have to brace myself sometimes. All right, thank you for joining me. I'm going to throw this on my live on YouTube, as well as the other one that I had the other night. If you guys were with me on that one was dope. We were shoe shopping and we were chopping it up in the parking lot. We were having a good time. It was like a 2-hour one. I think I'm going to put the whole thing on there so you guys can see. It's super, super fun. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for joining me. Ciao, bellas. I'll see you guys soon. I still have to talk about part 2 of the beast system. And then we're going to do part 2 of reincarnation. So hopefully I can get those done this weekend as well and drop those. All right. Don't forget to check out the link in my bio. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you guys soon. Aloha. Ciao, ciao, ciao.